gamyamānasya gamane prasaktaṁ gamana-dvayam yena tad gamyamānaṁ sa cātra gamanaṁ punaḥ.
Gamyamānasya gamane prasaktaṁ gamana-dvayam yena tad gamyamānaṁ cātra gamanaṁ punaḥ. MMK chapter 2 verse 5. So this is the third verse which considers gamyamānasya gamanaṁ, visiting of the now being visited. And this one, the first pada is in the locative, gamane, so in visiting. Gamanaṁ means going or going to, visiting. The na, na, neuter action noun from the verbal root gam, to go. So gamane, in visiting, in the visiting of the now being visited. In visiting, gamane, of the now being visited, gamyamānasya. Twofold visiting. Twofold visiting, gamana-dvayam. Gamana, again, visiting, going. Dvayam is a nominative singular neuter. Twofold, dvayam. Gamana-dvayam, twofold visiting, is implicated. Prasaktaṁ. Prasaktaṁ is the past participle from the verbal root prasaj. We had it in the previous verse in prasadyate. It means it follows that, there follows, prasadyate. Past participle prasaktaṁ. So it followed as a consequence. So gamana-dvayam, twofold visiting, prasaktaṁ, is implicated. In visiting, gamane, of the now being visited, gamyamānasya, twofold visiting, gamana-dvayam, is implicated. Prasaktaṁ, whereby, yena. So yena is instrumental singular of yat, which means which. So yena, by which, whereby. Whereby there is the now being visited. So there is the now being visited is gamyamānaṁ. Gamyamānaṁ is nominative neuter singular, and so a nominative word can often just be translated there is. Gamyamānaṁ, there is the now being visited. In question, tad. So tad gamyamānaṁ means that now being visited, or the now being visited in question. So the irony is that what Nagarjuna is pointing to with the brilliant phrase gamyamānaṁ, the now being visited, is everything without dividing out anything. That's what the meaning of gamyamānaṁ is. The whole caboodle, including the self, including what we think of as the self, including what we think of as circumstances, including what we think of as subject, including what we think of as object, and most importantly, including what we think of as action. So that the now being visited, gamyamānaṁ, is totally incapable of being separated out into different elements. But that's what's implicated if we talk about being mindful of reality, visiting the now being visited. What that does is it separates out the now being visited as that now being visited, the now being visited in question, and something else which is visiting it. That's the conception which Nagarjuna is refuting in this series of verses. So again, in visiting of the now being visited, gamyamānasya gamane twofold visiting is implicated, prasaktaṁ gamana-dvayam, whereby there is the now being visited in question, yena gamyamānaṁ, and at the same time, so that's two chas. In the third and fourth pada we have cha twice, so that means and at the same time. And at the same time we've got punaḥ. So punaḥ means again, once again, repeatedly. So and at the same time is cha punaḥ. And at the same time, whatever visiting there is, so whatever, yat, visiting, gamanaṁ, and gamanaṁ again is neuter singular, so it can be there is. So whatever visiting there is, yat gamanaṁ, at this locality, cātra. So tra is like a locative suffix. So cātra means there, and cātra means here, at this place. So at this locality, again, there's the irony operating here. So you've got the point being that gamyamānaṁ is everything. It's the whole universe. It isn't. There's no specific locality implicated in the word gamyamānaṁ, the now being visited. It includes everything. So to describe it as a particular locality is a bit of an ironic sense of humour working. And it's all obvious when the thing is, if you read previous translations, yesterday I was looking at, yesterday I was wondering about the word tad in tad gamyamānaṁ, because tad yena could mean that by which, and so I was looking at previous translations for confirmation of my understanding that tad gamyamānaṁ means the now being visited in question. So I referred back to Kalupahana, who was very much steeped in the Pali Sutras, and you would think I had a good grasp of the grammar at least. But he translates gamyamānaṁ, the present movement. I think it's the present movement. So it just doesn't work with that translation. The whole thing doesn't work. So then when you look at Kalupahana's attempt to explain the philosophical teaching of the verse, he just totally misses the point. So it's, in a sense, it's comical in two ways, because the verse is ironic humour, and then an academic scholar interprets it so seriously with all these high-fluting philosophical concepts, and so I'm afraid the joke is on David Kalupahana. Anyway, the point, rather than gloating about how good the translation is to see that what he's pointing to is what F.M. Alexander called the unity underlying all things. Gamyamānasya gamane, in visiting of the now being visited. Prasaktaṁ gamana-dvayam, twofold visiting is implicated. Yena gamyamānaṁ, whereby there is the now being visited in question, cātra gamanaṁ punaḥ, and at the same time, whatever visiting there is at this locality. So, again, it's very, very difficult or impossible to understand what true practice is. But we can understand gradually what it's not. And what it's not is what separates things into two sides. Subject and object, us against them, left against right, me against myself. So if we come at it from the, see, for me, Alexander work and Master Dogen's teaching of Zazen and the Buddha's teaching of mindfulness, they're all pointing in exactly the same direction, in the same way. So in the first instance, it's necessary to have the convenient fiction of myself. That's where practice starts. So I have to kind of forget the fact that ultimately everything, the now being visited, is one, and kind of forget about the outside and just bring my attention and awareness back to this 6 foot of bone and flesh and nerves and thinking. So how, starting here, what I want is a condition of psychophysical unity. I don't want to be divided against myself. Okay, and so the place to start in getting all this together, going in one direction in an integrated way, is with chesta, bodily action, chesta, moving the limbs. Chesta yatra gatis tatra. Where there is physical action, there is a way to go. As I was saying, for me, doing weights of a lunchtime was a kind of an important first step for me to understand the liberation that there can be in physical movements, in just putting all your attention on physical movements, and especially if those movements involve cross-pattern movement, like in running or like in karate, where you're crossing the midline, because that helps with the integration of left and right and top and bottom. So this is the first step, and if I relate it to Alexander work, it would be what Marjorie Barlow would say was informing the whole body with thought. We want the whole body informed with thought. So neck free, head forward and up, back to lengthen and widen, sending the knees forwards and away, all together, one after the other. Neck free, head forward and up, back to lengthen and widen, sending the knees forwards and away. So the whole body informed with thought is towards psychophysical unity. But then the next stage in Alexander work is you go into movement. Working on the self has to involve going into movement. So it's not just a question of, in a sort of meditative way, giving directions, excuse me, saying no, so that you have a sense of psychophysical unity. It's going beyond that. It's going to movement, losing self-consciousness, losing oneself in an action. So forgetting oneself. Okay, so that's from an Alexander point of view. Well, anybody who knows Dogen's teaching, he's very familiar with his very famous phrase in Genjo Koan. To learn the Buddha Dharma is to learn the self. To learn the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to drop off body and mind. And so it continues. So again, if we go back to the mindfulness sutta, the Buddha says, first of all, about breathing, just be aware that a long breath is long and a short breath is short. So the first, that's Alexander inhibition. Don't be in a hurry to try and change things. But then he says, Sabakaya patisam vedi asasisami tisikati. So sikati means train. This is how you practice. This is how one trains oneself. With the awareness that with the whole body informed with thought, I will breathe in, I will breathe out. So the first stage is like that. Sabakaya patisam vedi. Being self-conscious of the whole body. But then the next stage is pasambayam kaya sankaran. Causing the samskara samskara of a body to cease. So that's dropping off body and mind. So it's being aware of oneself as a psychophysical unity in order to forget oneself, to go into action, to devote oneself to some task in which one forgets oneself. So it's like getting the self together in order to sacrifice oneself for some greater good. So what this verse is saying then, it's poking fun at, you can say, someone who's stuck in the self-conscious phase of making effort to be mindful of reality, because that's separating the now being visited into two things: the now being visited as object, and the visiting of it as an action. So there's two kinds of visiting: the now being visited in question, which one is trying to be, which is trying to visit, and the visiting in the visiting of it. In visiting of the now being visited, gamane, gamyamānasya, twofold visiting, gamana-dvayam, is implicated, prasaktaṁ, whereby, yena, there is the now being visited in question, tad gamyamānaṁ ca, and at the same time, ca punaḥ, whatever visiting there is, yat gamanaṁ, at this locality, cātra.
gamyamānasya gamane prasaktaṁ gamana-dvayam yena gamyamānaṁ cātra gamanaṁ punaḥ.